On today's episode of Beyond Resilience, we look at a recent study showing that only a small percentage of people are following all 4 key cancer prevention guidelines and chat about ways to make healthy habits easier to stick to for long-term wellness.
Catherine, hello,
Jamie,
hello.
hello. How are you? It's good to see you.
Good to see you. Good to see you. It looks, I see you wearing, tank top or dress there. It must be nice and warm, toasty where you are.
Oh yeah, it's rather toasty.
Uh-huh.
That is an understatement.
Okay.
It is, yes. I am missing this seasonal weather that you're feeling up there, and
Yes.
yeah, if you want to get warm and toasty, just come down and visit me because
Okay.
we got plenty of it.
Yes. Yes. Well, it's warm enough here, but it's always 72 degrees in my office. So
I
I'm,
love it.
yes,
I love
definitely.
it. I love it. I love your green. So you all can see Jamie's
Yes.
glasses. She's sporting these amazing green. They're my favorite color. And
Yes.
yes, she is just looking like a fashion just icon right now and sporting these beautiful glasses that I'm so jealous of. So
It's just my way of expressing myself. That and my hair. So, oh my goodness.
well, I'm happy to be here with you today. And do you want to
Yes.
introduce what we're going to be talking about, which I'm so excited for?
I do. And then we got to circle back to what's on your heart.
Yeah.
And so today we're gonna, just to give you a little teaser, we are gonna talk about how to support people to stay healthy, to be healthy, to follow a healthy lifestyle after finishing cancer treatment. And so some interesting data were published in JAMA Oncology, and we want to kind of dive into the results of that study and what maybe we can take away from that. So,
Absolutely.
and what's on your heart?
What's on my heart? What's on my heart today? You know, I woke up this morning and I usually wake up really early down here because that's when it's the coolest. And so before the sun comes out, it's just this perfect quiet and the stars in the sky are so beautiful. It's just so grateful to be alive and just breathing the air and really feeling what that feels like, just to have air in my lungs and be able to just enjoy the moment, which so many times we're in a rush, and I'm really trying to be more intentional about being still. And so I did, and and it was so luxurious. I encourage everybody out there to just be still, however that looks like for you. For me, it's in the morning, early before the day gets going, and the quiet and being in nature. It's just like being in a spa. It just totally is relaxing, and it just sets my day off just perfect. How about you? Sharing what is on
Yes.
your heart, my friend.
You know, I have a lot of different things on my heart today, and some of them are really, really warm and cozy and tender, and some of them are a little more sad, I think. So today's Wednesday. We're recording today on a Wednesday, and Wednesday morning is my morning that I get up and I meet up with one of my dear friends, and we go for an early morning walk together and talk. And today, when we were walking, we were really reflecting on where we are in life. It was such a tender, wonderful conversation, and it really gave me perspective on life and on how we evolve, how I'm evolving as a human being, and why that allows me to be here and doing this stuff. So
I love that.
so yeah. So I'm in the midst of everything, the good and the bad, and the joy and the sadness, I find myself really grateful. So that's where I am in this moment.
Thank you for sharing. Gratitude is such a beautiful place to be.
Yeah. Let's dive into this this topic. You suggested that this might be a really interesting article to at least touch on, and then topic to talk about. Do you want to lay out what's on your mind with it?
Yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, just on the outskirts, what they highlighted, what stood out to me was out of this group of people, there were about 10,000 participants, and maybe 9,100 actually filled out their survey. So we got data from about 9,100 or so. And out of that, only 4% adhered to the guidelines from the American Cancer Society. But we did a little bit of further digging, and there's some hope with some of those stats as well, which we can talk about. But I think that was kind of a red flag for me, that maybe we need to really dig into these guidelines a little bit more, and talk about how we can get a higher percentage of people that are actually adhering to all four of them, ideally. But we celebrate the wins, and looking what a lot of the participants are doing right.
So if we take a step back for a minute, just to lay the foundation, right?
Yeah.
What we're referring to is data that were published in an article, and we will reference the specifics for both the article and some commentaries on the article. This was published this year, I believe it was April,
Yes.
in JAMA Oncology.
Yep.
And it was a large cross-sectional study. So what that means is that the authors in this study collected data from a pretty diverse group of people, right? So people who were off of cancer treatment, who were considered cancer survivors, but they didn't really control for things like, somebody who finished their treatment a year ago versus 10 years ago, right? So
Right.
a really wide, diverse group of people. And what they really were looking at were, as Catherine mentioned, some of the American Cancer Society recommendations for or guidelines for living a healthy lifestyle, or preventing cancer recurrence and decreasing morbidity and mortality after finishing cancer treatment. So the four are: 1, guidelines for amount of physical activity;
Yep.
2, BMI, so body mass index, so a measure of obesity. We could talk about BMI for a very long time and whether that's a good measure of obesity or not, but nonetheless, it is what's often used to evaluate whether someone is considered obese or not obese. Alcohol intake, and intake of fruits and vegetables. Yeah. So specifically, Catherine, you did such a good job when we were chatting before this in really outlining what the specifics of those guidelines. You want to talk about them, and then we can dive into the successes and maybe some of the opportunities for improvement.
Sure, absolutely. So the fruits and vegetables are what they're recommending. And again, just to preface this, there's no guarantee that when you do any of these recommendations that cancer will not come back, or that you will totally prevent cancer. However, there is science which though shows that there is a reduction in the chances of reoccurrence and reduction in chances that you will develop cancer. And I think most of these are pretty commonplace with what probably your doctor would tell you: to eat better and exercise more. But the American Cancer Society went a step further and actually put numbers to all these recommendations, so that they are 7 to 10 of servings of fruits and vegetables, which I know is a lot, but just think about your plate. And an easy way to remember this is that 3/4 of your plate should be mostly vegetables, and a little less fruit. 30 minutes 5 times a week of moderate exercise, and That could be walking. They also include strength training as well, a couple days a week with that. And then BMI, I think it's is it less than 30? I think that's what it was. And then alcohol, I believe it was just a strict, are you drinking any or not? So it was a total abstinence of alcohol intake. And I think their recommendations are to reduce the amount of alcohol to no more than 1 drink a day. So 7 total, but they look at it by a daily intake. So you can't skip a few days and store it up and then have a bunch of drinks on the weekend. It's day by day. It's how many drinks you're having day by day. And there is a direct connection with each drink that increases, I believe, your risk of cancer, or at least breast cancer that I'm familiar with, by like 13%. So, and each drink is added onto that.
So do you want to talk about maybe where it looked like people were doing the best, at least in this particular population?
Yeah, so we want to celebrate that. It looks like a lot of people we're moving, we're exercising, which is amazing. Fruits and vegetables was probably on the side of where we needed to encourage people to eat better the most.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So if I remember correctly, only 12% of people were meeting the recommended intake for fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
And I think the alcohol intake was 50-50.
Yeah.
So 50% of the people were actually meeting recommendations for minimizing alcohol intake.
Yes.
And as you said, wonderful that 70% of people, or around 70% of people, were meeting the recommendations or guidelines by the American Cancer Society for both physical activity and BMI, and that is avoiding obesity. The one caveat that I'll just throw in there for BMI, BMI is does not incorporate body composition. And so if someone has a higher body weight, but has a relatively low amount of body fat, that would be somebody who's doing a lot of strength training, maybe bodybuilder, but has a relative high amount of muscular mass or muscle mass. Their BMI may also be high, and that doesn't necessarily mean that they are over fat, if you will.
Thank you.
But
Yes.
the amount of body weight that they're carrying for their body height is higher than it would cause that number to be in the obese category, even though you wouldn't look at them and say that they're over fat. And that's important, because the risks with obesity are often associated with that increase in fat mass and the downstream effects on metabolism and inflammation that increase risks for developing diseases like heart disease and cancer.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, just one minor point that the BMI does not account for that. And nonetheless, the results in this study for those two categories were really pretty encouraging. Still room for improvement.
Right.
And
I agree.
Yeah, definitely. So I think, the questions that come up for me are how do we do better?
Yeah.
How important is this? And where do we go from here?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. I'm with you with that. And how so it's the tricks of really the food industry, big food. I really believe that it doesn't make it easy, to really eat well. There are so many foods out there that are addictive. You've got high fructose corn syrups. I was just listening to an interesting podcast that's pretty much in everything. So really important to read the labels of foods, eat more foods that are in their natural packaging, and that would just be fruits and vegetables. A lot of it, you can't really OD on this stuff. And I would say particularly for breast cancer anyway, cruciferous vegetables and are packed with really anti-cancer nutrients. If you can eat more sprouts, that's even better. Smoothies where you're putting in a ton of greens and you don't even realize it. So
Mm-hmm.
little tricks that you can do to
Yeah.
get in the amount of fruits and vegetables in there. A lot of those nutrients can be bulked up and added up in smoothies or soups and salads. And, you
Yeah.
can just make a kitchen sink salad and put every vegetable that you have in your fridge.
Sure.
Basically, and cut it
Yeah.
up with a lean protein, and the lean protein can be actually a smaller amount to flavor your salad, but give you a protein boost,
Mm-hmm.
because adequate protein is super important too. But you can add in a can of garbanzo beans or beans, and a super powerful dressing with the healthy fats in there, and it can be super nutritious and super satisfying.
Mm-hmm.
And have maybe a fruit and nuts or seeds for a snack, and then again a big power dinner. And if you think about more nutrient dense meals, so that you're really versus calorie dense, so you're really adding in those nutrients
Yeah.
instead of the calories. And I think we just have to be careful and very vigilant with label reading, and make sure that we're not eating things that we don't want to eat in our body by mistake. So
Yeah.
even salad dressings and cereal bars and yogurts, are packed full of sugars. And I was just reading where General Mills was sued and had to pay a huge lawsuit because they were saying that their yogurt was full of probiotics, and it wasn't. So I would be aware of any yogurt that says probiotics.
Yeah.
Probably that's difficult to do, and there's some science back behind that. But there's lots of sneaky ways that you can get all those nutrients in. You just have to be intentional about it, and
Yeah.
and and be smart about it. And I would say, if you guys are interested in that, hit us up with some questions, and we're happy to
Yeah.
to to help you in any way that we can.
Yeah, definitely. I, as a busy single mom, of two teenagers, um, you know, time is limited, right? For meal preparation and for thinking, really about what we're going to do for food and for getting it done. And yeah, we lean on super simple fresh fruits and veggies, like you said, that we can just pull out. Often my go-to is, a bowl with full of berries or mango or something, some kind of fruit. This is sort of my breakfast brunchy thing. And then for exactly what you said, I always go for plain yogurt. I never imagined that I would be a super big fan of plain yogurt, and by itself, maybe I'm not. But when it's mixed up with
Yeah.
with a bunch of berries or something like that, I get my fruit in. I get a good serving of protein. Sometimes I'll squeeze a little honey or a little bit of maple syrup on top. My go-to is local honey. Because not only does it taste wonderful, but also just the exposure to the pollens, for me, I think seems to really help with my allergies, which is a
Yeah.
little side benefit. And or plain yogurt with a little lemon juice squeezed in and mixed up with it.
Sounds
Just
good.
fresh lemon juice. So you've got your lemon yogurt there, low sugar, high protein, and I get in my fruits and veggies. So fruits in the morning.
Love it.
And so that's a super easy go-to. And then like you said, some kind of protein with a much bigger serving of vegetables for other meals, and being cautious. As I think about the barriers to following a healthy diet, right, to just getting healthy foods, it's often one, our time, right?
Yeah.
Our culture, we're in this place of busy, 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 rush, rush, go from here to there, and with little time to stop and really enjoy food preparation. But again, it is what it is. And I think there's an opportunity definitely to think about that and talk about that in and of itself. But the reality is often the go-to is, swinging through a drive-through, hopping online with DoorDash, or going for some kind of prepared meal, super easy thing you can pull out of the pantry or fridge. And as Catherine said, just be mindful, beware. Sometimes, there isn't, an alternative necessarily to the easy button for dinner some nights. But one, I think being mindful of limiting how often that happens, and really being mindful of what it is that you're putting into your bodies. Being intentional about stopping and thinking about what we're putting in our bodies. And so intentionality, taking time, savoring the experience maybe of food preparation when you can, and trying to enjoy or share mealtime with other people, and using that as an opportunity to really connect. The only thing I would add to that is, in my experience in seeing patients in our comprehensive survivor clinic, is that one of the challenges that sometimes might be a little unique to the oncology population, or certainly to the ill population, so people impacted by severe or chronic illness, is their executive functioning is sometimes impaired. So our executive functioning is really important for us to be able to get stuff done in our lives, right? To make a to-do list, to even think about a to-do list, and to check things off your list and be able to follow them. And at times, whether the cancer itself or the treatment associated with cancer can cause, chemo brain, cancer fog, and sometimes even subtle deficits, changes to executive functioning. And if you can't, if you are struggling with getting things done after cancer treatment, or you're having difficulty really prioritizing things in a way that is new for you, talk to your doctor about that. Because one, it's important to have that evaluated and be sure that you understand where that's coming from and whether maybe there's something to do about it. And two, if it truly is a result of your cancer or your treatment, whether chemotherapy or radiation, there also are approaches to really work with your thinking, to retrain your brain in a way and to help empower you to set you up for success, right? Because it can be incredibly frustrating, right? To have been able to, multitask, or not advocating for multitasking, but certainly to be historically have been a very efficient person who could keep track of lots of things and get things done, and then suddenly to not be able to do that in the same way can be really disheartening and frustrating. And so I would say there are opportunities, there are things that you can do that can actually help with that. So
I love that, Jamie, and I think that's such a good that is such a good thing to highlight, because I do think that people probably do suffer from that. And the other thing that comes up for me is exhaustion. A lot of people are just exhausted as a side effect from their treatment, or just exhausted from their day. So what signals to me that of all these things, everybody's doing such an amazing job with alcohol, and for the most part, and exercise, but it's the food that really seems to be the problematic. And I think it requires planning, and it requires intention, and it requires that you do things a little bit differently than maybe what that's kind of counterculture, and so it does require. And if you're really tired, and if maybe you didn't get everything done that you wanted to get done today, and frustrated because of that. The last thing you want to do is spend an hour cooking dinner. I totally get it, and it's so much easier just to run through the drive-through or have a delivery or pizza or whatever. We understand that completely.
Yeah.
I think there has to be, but knowing that your health, your reason why, I think, and that motivating reason why, and really getting in touch with your inner self of, okay, how can I be my best self? And then trying to formulate that as a motivating factor, to really eat better, to really set that intention. Okay, today I'm really going to try, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be tiny baby steps you take.
Yeah. We're both real people who face the same kinds of struggles that all of you do.
Totally.
And that's why we're
Yes.
here, right?
Right.
And the other thing that we were chatting a little bit about before we hopped on and started recording today that I think is so important to highlight, is the benefits of being seen, or having some connection with a cancer survivor clinical program or clinic. You talked a little bit, and I want to hear, or would love to take the time for you to share a little bit about your experience with your cancer survivor program. I would say in our program, which is for children, adolescents, and young adult survivors of cancers, really focusing on living a healthy life with some cancer surveillance included in those visits, but certainly the focus really being on where are you, how are you now, and what can we do to support you to be healthy, to stay healthy, and to be empowered to do the things that you want to do. Yeah. And so there are these programs around the country that are set up to really, one, provide information and provide support, because it often primary care physicians may not be up to date on the latest guidelines, or fully understand the treatments that you got and the results or the late effects of some of those treatments, and things that maybe are important to screen for or think about over the long haul. So I would strongly encourage you to be connected with a cancer survivor program, even if only for a visit, once every few years, just to check in, to have an opportunity to check in. So,
yeah. I agree. I feel like that was a weak link for me, and that's kind of what gave birth to my health coaching program, which kind of helps fills in the gap. I do think at some point that oncologist physicians may be working with the health coaches that help them facilitate more, because there's only so much time in the day and they're busy doing their thing. So a health coach can really help in the accountability department and really support of that oncologist and the well-being even in a survivorship program. But my survivorship program in a well-known cancer clinic hospital is an annual visit, and I feel like that's just not enough to really get to know. And it's all it's kind of how our healthcare system is. Call me if you have trouble, versus let's work on you now before you have trouble and before you find something to get you healthy, to keep so that you're living your best life that you possibly can. And I feel like that definitely was a motivator for me in trying to create something that can really be helpful in supporting breast cancer patients, because that's what I know from my own experience, and feel like, okay, this is from the latest research. We collaborate with your doctor, but this is pretty much hand-holding of getting you into the right place until you can pretty much do this on your own. And I do think it will, I'm hoping that our healthcare system will evolve into having more incorporating coaches, whether it's mentally or whether it's just on another side, to really help facilitate them and support them, because they can't do everything. There's only so much time in the day, and there are so many me, there's new studies coming out all the time, and it's just difficult to try to keep on top of that. But when you've got a partner that can help you with that, then the patient, the client, the prospect is the winner in this whole thing, because you've got really two people or in a system looking after you for support. So
Absolutely.
I believe that's, and that's why we joined together, basically, was really providing that holistic support. I feel like that's hopefully what we can achieve through our podcast, but also, going forward, it is an area that needs to be addressed and can probably be improved upon, and because we do need to be, at the end of the day, we do need to be responsible for our health. It's just.
Yeah, completely. And I think, we could probably go off on a tangent about whether health coaching and physician coaching should be a part of medical care. I left my medical practice to really be able to focus on doing deeper work with patients and clients. And there's a reason for that. And I think where our medical system is right now maybe isn't in a place to provide all the pieces. Right. And nonetheless, here we are with our passions and our drives to really be here to help you all. Right, to provide what you need and to support people who are motivated and who really want to live their best lives. Before we wrap up today, there's one other piece that I just want to touch on related to this topic. That is something that I've heard different versions of in taking care of patients in our survivor program, and then also as a physician coach, and that is some version of my body turned on me. My body turned on me is probably, those are the words that are coming up right now. Mm-hmm. Cancer attacked me, and I don't care anymore. Yeah. I don't care about my body. I'm done. I was doing all the right things, and this happened. Whatever. I'm just gonna, kind of give up. Yeah. And what a sad place to be. And also, of course, people can feel this way. Yeah. Many people do feel this way, and especially many people feel this way, at least at some point in their journey, right? And so that can sometimes be that feeling of hopelessness or sadness or overwhelm can also get in the way.
Yeah, a little bit of anger in there too, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Can also get in the way of taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
And can lead to, poor eating habits, numbing your feelings with different kinds of substances, including things like alcohol. Mm-hmm. And so what I would say is please know you don't have to stay stuck in a spot like that. That there are people out there to support you and to help you, whether that's close family and friends, healthcare professionals, mental health professionals, but seek help if you need it for things like that, because cancer and being diagnosed with cancer is a traumatic experience that can really make it hard to go on with living life and with taking care of yourself. No,
I love that, Jamie, and I echo that, and I think that I've had questions. Well, why are you preaching what you preach? Because it's not guaranteed, and cancer does come back. It does, but there are also times when it doesn't, and so. We can always look at at life as a half glass full or half empty. We have that choice to look at that. And so if you're at that point, or maybe you've always looked at that point where I am a half glass empty kind of person. And that's okay. But I would really encourage you to think it doesn't have to be that way. There are mediations where we can reduce stress. We can rework the brain and our thoughts and how to think that way, and try to empower you to. It's not like every day has to be happy-go-lucky. It doesn't have to be that way. But also you can see some type of positivity in this experience, even if I dare say those things. But I believe that there can be, and there can be another gear of empowerment in that. When we struggle, we build those muscles of strength and endurance and resilience that we don't have to just give into. We can really use the opportunity to build up that if we choose to. And it really comes up to, it's up to us, right? So it's nobody's going to judge you one way or another, whether you are thinking one way. And I think Jamie echoed that. But I do think that if you do desire to maybe seek a way where you can rework how you think, and this transcends, into all areas of your life. So this transcends into trying to eat healthier and exercise more. And when we hit one button, we can tend to hit lots of different types of buttons as well, and check off lots of different types of boxes. And then all of a sudden, we are happier, and we are more joy-filled, and we have purpose in our life, and it changes everything. So I commend you for saying and pointing that out, Jamie. That's really very true with a lot of people, and that's okay. But there are options.
Absolutely. And I think that's right. My whole point in bringing it up was right. It's okay. It can be very natural to be in a place like that.
Yeah.
And just know that there's support out there for you.
Yes.
And that can take a whole variety of different kinds of forms. And we're happy to talk more about that. So
we are.
If anybody has questions or needs or anything in that space, please let us know.
Yeah, hit us up with questions, you all, and we are here to serve you. So if you have liked what you have heard, to please spread the word. We're seeking organic growth, so we need you to spread the word out there. If you find this message has been helpful at all, please let us know, and let other people know as well. It would really help us if you like and subscribed.
Absolutely. Yes. So, all right. I think until next time.
Yeah, until next time.
All right.
Always great to be with you. It's been a lot of fun. All right, take care.
Right. Bye.
All right, bye.
This podcast is here to support you. If you liked it, please rate, review, follow, and share, since that's the best way to grow a community together. Please leave us comments and feedback. We're here to help.